Welcome, everyone, to my first official podcast of BIZ Connections. And in today's episode, I'm going to be interviewing the founders and owners of Hawks Mill Winery just outside Browntown, Wisconsin, Ric and Theresa Joranlien. Now, they've accomplished quite a bit in really a short period of time, literally starting from scratch. Hopefully, you're going to get to know them a little bit more personally. And more importantly, you're going to benefit from the advice and the knowledge that they're going to be sharing with us on literally how to build a business from scratch. With that, I want to introduce Ric and Theresa Joranlien. Mm-hmm. Many of you know them, Hawks Mill Winery. Mm-hmm. We've been regular customers.
From day one.
Day one, my wife and I.
Yep.
And Ricky. A lot of the dinner family.
Correct.
So we're glad to be here. And so I just want to introduce Ric and Theresa and just kind of give a quick little bit of background on them. If you want to just share a little bit of your background.
Sure.
Is that okay? Yep.
Yeah, so I grew up in Broadhead. That was my stomping ground growing up. Stayed there till I was graduated high school there and went off to college. Ended up working for night manufacturing in Broadhead after school, and that worked out really well. I was there almost 25 years, did everything from, started out in sales, went to engineering, then ended up in as a paralegal doing intellectual property such as patents and trademarks. And so I was there for quite a long time, and then went to MyTech Corporation in Monroe, which is where I met Theresa.
And I'm actually from Winslow, so I'm was just across the state line. Grew up on a small farm. My dad was a tool and die maker, and moved out and got married and lived in Lena for a number of years. Had 2 kids with my first husband. First marriage. And right out of school, I started working for MyTech as a purchasing assistant and worked my way through the purchasing departments into operations, and ended up being there for 31 years. And the majority of the last, 10, 12 years was spent as VP of operations and distribution, overseeing 5 plants across the U.S.
Okay, so you came from the manufacturing sector, and that probably helped. I'm sure you learned some skills in that area,
absolutely,
right, to transfer over to this. And a lot of people don't know. You can let them know what year did you start the winery? Right, what year was that? Roughly?
We planted our first grapes in 2012, but we didn't open the tasting room until 2015, March of 2015.
So the grapes, okay.
Grapes came first. A couple of different plantings there, and then we purchased the property that the tasting room sits on in December of 2013. We started remodeling everything March of 2014, and then we opened in March of 2015.
So about 5 years going
Yeah,
strong. Okay.
yeah.
And where did the idea come from?
We joke that we drank a lot of wine one night.
Actually, what it was Theresa and I got married almost exactly 10 years ago. I was a beer drinker and she was a wine drinker, so she started to corrupt me to the wine drinking side.
It didn't take very much.
No, it didn't take much. But we went out to Napa and Sonoma, and I found a red wine out there, a Merlot that I liked from Sebastiani. So she immediately bought a case and had it sent home, and that kind of started my journey into wine. That led to home winemaking, fooling around with that, and friends and family enjoyed that. So the next year we went back out to California, and on the way back from that trip, I told her, I remember on the plane, I said, our soil is rocky and horrible soil and hilly, and that's exactly what grapes like. I said, why don't we just plant some grapes just for fun, just for home winemaking and stuff like that. So the next spring we planted 150 grapevines, and they grew really well. So then the next year we decided to plant another 500 vines, and those grew really well. Things went really well. So And at that time, where we lived, we had neighbors just up the hill from our house, and they had decided to move. So we decided to buy that property, which is the winery property here.
Okay.
And then that's when we decided to turn this into a winery.
And a lot of people don't know the winemaking process. I mean, can you give like just an overview, like a quick summary?
Sure. It's actually pretty simple. Where beer making involves heat, it's a heat cooking process. Winemaking does not require any heat. So you can take anything that has sugar in it, any juice, and put yeast in it. The yeast is a specialized yeast. The only difference from baking yeast is this yeast can handle a higher alcohol level. So you put the yeast in, and what the yeast does is it converts all the sugars to alcohol. So when the yeast is done with its job, which maybe takes a week to a month, it depends, then you have a juice that's not very sweet and it has alcohol in it. So then from there you start working with the flavors of how are you going to blend this, make it taste good.
Yep.
And then as a commercial winery, we filter that down and make it stable so that we can bottle it.
And the educational part of this, you guys, did you just learn? How did you learn it? I mean, there had to be something
Once
behind
again, we drank a lot of wine. No.
Yeah.
No, there's a program called Vesta, and it's online courses that are taught by California winemakers. And you can take two different tracks. One is enology, which is the winemaking side, and one is viticulture, which is the vineyard management side. So we kind of split up duties, and he did the enology or winemaking, and I did the vineyard side of things.
Okay.
So.
And I noticed too on your Facebook page, the Rhubarb Wine. You're going to do something with Rhubarb Wine, I see?
Yeah, this will be our fourth batch of rhubarb that we've done over the years. So every year we get in rhubarb from customers that drop off, from 10 to 100 pounds of rhubarb. And then we freeze and press that and then ferment the juice and make a rhubarb wine.
So people like rhubarb pie. You must have tried the rhubarb wine, right?
Right, that's the name of it, rhubarb pie.
Yeah.
But we've already got enough for this year. So.
Okay, don't bring any more rhubarb.
Yeah, and it's a limited batch. So whatever we get for rhubarb for the year is what we're able to bottle and sell. So when we do release it, it sells out really quick.
So is there a typical day, like in your schedule when you do that? Yeah. Is there a set routine, or is it just kind of?
Every day is different.
Every day is different. It just really depends. For me, first thing in the morning is I'm in the office trying to catch up on paperwork and bookkeeping and that kind of stuff. But then it depends if we have events going on or I'm working on Facebook, creating the events, supply runs, you name it. I mean, it's just literally anything and everything. And then we're bottling usually at least once a week. So that's 3 to 4 hours, depending on the size of the run.
And you've got help, right?
We do have help, yeah.
Who's the main winemaker? You have a chief winemaker?
Well, it used to be Rick, but now we've turned it over to David Hawk. He's been with us since August. It'll be coming up on a year.
Okay.
And he's doing really, really well. So we've turned a lot of those duties over to him.
Okay, delegation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys have a favorite vintage yourself, or is it kind of across the board?
I would say mine would be our port that we released last year. It was our first port, and it was stellar. So that is a port is a fortified wine.
Okay.
So it's a little higher alcohol, but it just had such a great flavor.
I just had
to
one of the dry wines. I can't pronounce it.
Frontenac.
Okay. Very good. I'm a dry wine person myself. I know and you got just what are the varieties? I mean, I don't have a list in front of me, but just what's your main
probably
focus?
Make 25.
Yeah, between
now.
here and our New Glarus location, we make probably close to 28.
Yeah.
28.
Right now. Mm-hmm.
So that's a big
and our
selection.
sales are probably 3/4 of our wine sales are sweet wines. So we really tend to focus a little more on the sweet wines because that's what our customers want in this area.
Yeah. There's a story you mentioned in previous conversations I had with you. When you first opened, you were surprised
We were
Right?
very surprised. Yeah.
This was not originally your
No,
idea.
we just kind of anticipated this to be a weekend business where we would continue working our full-time jobs, and kind of do this more on a weekend basis only. And our first weekend open, we sold 1,000 bottles of wine, and we kind of opened our eyes and went, oh boy! So we had to kind of rethink our business plan and what we were going to do. So
That's pretty.
it was
Pretty amazing.
it was incredible. Yeah, very incredible.
Is the online part of this now? What can people do if they want to get? A lot of people are used to ordering online, going through that process. But what is your procedure on that? What do you prefer to do?
So we do have online ordering, but that's designated more for people that want to ship wine to different places, and we can ship to about 30 different states right now. But if you want to place an order for pickup here, don't place it online. Just call us or Facebook message us. We'll have it pulled and have it
Okay.
here waiting for you.
Go on Facebook. The phone number's obviously on Facebook.
Right.
And you can message, of course, on Facebook.
Right. So either
Very
message or
convenient.
phone call,
Yeah.
and we'll just have it pulled and ready for pickup.
And one quick little tidbit too, I want to mention about the 2-month shutdown we just went through with COVID-19. Just share what you guys did during that time.
Sure. So we knew that, obviously we weren't going to be able to do tastings in our normal business. So we decided to try something really out of the box, and that was to do wine deliveries. So we decided 3 nights a week we would take each night and go to a different area. Wednesday was east, Thursday was west, and then Friday was south. And it really, really carried us through some tough times, as we all know. We ended up doing 232 deliveries in the 7 to 8 weeks that we were down.
Yeah,
So
that's pretty special. I mean, that shows you how service-oriented they are. Very service-oriented. Not too many businesses went that extra step, so that's something we appreciate. I know we were on the receiving end a couple times.
Oh.
And we appreciate that. It was kind of a boring 2 months.
yes, it was.
To be
It
honest.
was.
Do you have any special offers like a wine club, whatever the verbiage is on that?
So we do a case club. A lot of people are familiar with wine clubs where you get a shipment every 3 months or every 4 months. But we do ours a little bit different. So if you come in and purchase a case of wine, the first time you get a 5% discount on that case of wine, and you get a little card, and that entitles you to 2 free tastings anytime you come back in for the next year. And then if you come back in within 12 months and buy another case, you get a 10% discount. So it's not a recurring club where we're just charging you every quarter. You have control over buying that case when you want to buy the case and what you put in that case.
And one other thing I want to throw out there, it's a great atmosphere here. Like I said, we've been here different times throughout the last 5 years, and you do special events.
We do.
And I'll say this from my perspective, it's beyond just music. You have other events. You want to share some of the stuff you do?
Sure. We also have a brick oven pizza, so we call it Pizza in the Pav. So we fire that up and cook pizzas for 3 hours. They're all made to order, so you can get any of the standard ingredients. You mentioned music. We do either single musician duos, and then occasionally we bring in a full band. We've done comedy nights. We've got a 5K run that's coming up. We do an adult Easter egg hunt, which is just a lot of fun. People have a great time with that. And this year we moved it to a virtual Easter egg hunt because we couldn't have it on site. Yep, we do Boogie Woogie Bingo with the famous Ricky Deneur.
Yeah, it's a fun event.
We got another one of those coming up June 26th. So.
And you can rent the pavilion?
Yeah,
right?
We do a lot of weddings, receptions, bridal showers, class reunions, family reunions, and fundraisers. We've done a fair number of fundraisers.
So if you know of anybody, a class reunion, any kind of a get-together for that matter, the pavilion is beautiful. It is one of the nicest pavilions I've seen.
Thank you.
And I know you built it pretty much yourself.
We did. We got brave on that one. That's probably my biggest. I love construction type stuff, but this was the biggest challenge that I've ever had. This is a big one. So we
pulled
did it
it off.
ourselves. Yeah.
So we're getting to the wrap up here. You guys have any hobbies? Pretty much.
I'm a woodworker,
Yeah.
so I love when I have time, which isn't a lot, but I love making cabinets and woodworking.
And I love to cook, and I love to read too, but I don't have a lot of time to do that. But when I do, you'll find my nose in a book.
And we follow you guys on Facebook, so I know you travel.
We do some.
Yeah, a little bit.
We just got into camping a couple years ago, so we don't get out a ton to camp, but when we do, it's usually at like early week, which is nice because the campgrounds are pretty open and
Are you
not
sports
super
fans?
busy. Yep.
Packers,
Packers and yep.
Brewers, and
Badgers.
Badgers. And we now have alpacas.
Yep. And just had a baby
Llamas.
alpaca
The baby alpaca.
yesterday. Yeah.
And alpacas are what type of animal? A lot of people don't know what
Camelid.
alpacas
They're
are.
So it's
they're
like
a
a
camelid
camel.
family.
Yeah.
They come from Peru. They live up in the mountains, so they have a dense fleece that you shear once a year, and then you can make that into things, which we have at the winery, mittens and socks and scarves and things like that. So this year we'll be shearing, in June we'll be shearing our animals and then sending that fleece for processing. And then I think we'll have local people make the various items for sale here at the winery.
Roughly how many alpacas do you have?
Right now we have 6 because we just had one more, and then we
more.
got one llama. But one of the mama alpacas is bred, so she's due in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
So we'll
and
have
you
7
can
at that
literally
point.
see them out your
You
back,
can.
off the right at the back patio.
Yep.
They're right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're at the end here. We're gonna a couple interesting questions at the end here. What's something people would be surprised to learn about you?
Well, I think the fact that we did so much of the remodeling and the building of the winery ourselves.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue.
Yeah, the
very
tasting room
hands-
itself, it took us a year. We were both working full time, but it took us a year. But we did the majority of all the remodeling in here.
Yep. And I always close with one last question. If this was your last day on Earth, sounds over dramatic. Can you think of one or two things that you would like to share, pass along to somebody?
I think in these days, it's just it's disheartening to me that we can't. It used to be that we could have differences of opinions and still get along and be friends, and it's just too bad that we can't do that. It seems anymore, and I wish we could get back to being kinder to each other and just trying to get along, even though we don't have the same points of view.
I think everybody would agree with that 100%. Yep. So I want to thank Ric and Theresa,
Oh, you're welcome.
and they're open 7 days a week.
7 days a week
What
through
are
the
your
summer. Yep.
Hours are,
11 to 7, 7 days a week
and you have a second location.
in New Glarus.
New Glarus.
And right now we're just reopening that after this whole COVID situation. So that is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 10 to 6 right now.
And I want to thank Ric and Theresa. If you're in the area, or even if you're not in the area, stop out. This is a great place. Hawks Mill Winery, right outside Browntown, Wisconsin. If you're not sure, Google it. This concludes my first official podcast of the BIZ Connections podcast. And once again, I want to thank Ric and Theresa from Hawks Mill Winery for sharing their story and thoughts. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like and share and leave a comment down below. And I also invite you to follow me on Twitter at Ron Dinner, follow me on Instagram at Dinner Ron, follow me on my YouTube channel at Ron Dinner, and subscribe to BIZ Connections, B-I-Z, BIZ Connections on Apple Podcasts. And please give us a 5-star rating if you've been enjoying it. And I also invite you to like and share my Facebook page, BIZ Connections. So how this will proceed going forward, I plan on doing 2 episodes per month at this point. And so I plan on releasing the BIZ Connections podcast on a Friday. Now I'll be announcing the next one here coming up. So I'm really looking forward to this new chapter in my podcast career, but more importantly for you, our audience. that you will benefit from this also. And this is Ron Denner, your host for BIZ Connections, signing off.